That's good. Right. Got your mic on?
Yeah.
Cool. We're all mic'd up. Got my questions. Right. Let's record on this. Right, hey everybody. It's Sam here. I am recording an episode today with a lady that I've come to know a couple of years ago, I think. And I'm super excited to have her on the podcast. But what I do and what I've started to do is to ask people to introduce themselves. So, is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, okay. Far away.
Hey everyone, I'm Helen Packham. I am a speaker and storytelling coach based in Brighton, and in a nutshell, I help people to communicate more effectively, particularly entrepreneurs. I help them to increase their impact, authority and reach using the power of storytelling to become sought after speakers.
Wow, amazing. And I know that, of course, because I've had the benefit of some of your amazing teaching and coaching, and I can certainly vouch for it that it's amazing. But you haven't always done that, right?
No.
You haven't always done that.
No.
Before I get into some of what you did before, what you're doing now, I kind of wanted to ask you, I've called the podcast It Starts With You. Because, you know, that means, for me personally, that's about people owning their shit, really. It's about taking 100% responsibility for our choices and our decisions. And actually, whilst that might frighten some people, that's actually a good thing, because it empowers us and puts us in control of our lives and our happiness. So when I say to you, and when you hear the name, I guess It Starts With You for the podcast, what does that bring up for you? Does that bring up similar things for you, or does that you not agree with that?
No, I really do, because it was when I became aware of that and made a decision to tap into that and to follow that, my whole life changed.
Right, okay. So you've got some good stuff to talk about. Which I want to kind of dig into a little bit, because you've obviously not always been working for yourself. You come from I don't know too much about your corporate background, so maybe it might be quite good for us to hear a little bit about your corporate background, that journey, and what led you to a couple of things to where you are now. But I know it sort of had some impact on your delivery of your TEDx, I think, or maybe that was, you know, all around that time. I think so. Corporate, what happened?
So I always wanted to be an actress.
Really?
I was dead set on being an actress, and the reason why is because I was a really shy child. I went red all the time when people looked at me or even spoke to me, and I was very awkward, and I was really conscious of the way I looked. I was a real ugly duckling.
I find that hard to believe. But...
I know, I really was.
Right,
I looked,
okay.
What's his name? No offence against him, but I did look like James Corden as a child. And as a girl, it wasn't great. And so what I discovered was, through things like drama at school, I actually didn't feel embarrassed when I was playing those roles. I felt confident because I could be someone else.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
I had my heart set on doing that. I was going to go to university, but I took a year out, and in that year I got a job at Virgin Atlantic. And this was the first time I'd ever experienced working for an organisation, and it was the best first organisation because it was so forward thinking.
Yeah.
Richard Branson was so forward thinking. He was brilliant. He was very connected to employees. We all went to his house. We went to parties. I had breakfast with him loads of times.
Wow.
He was very, very connected.
When was that then? What sort of?
I was like 18.
Yeah,
like,
so
like 1998.
Right, and Virgin. When was Virgin?
Virgin was like 10 years old by that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so the airline.
Yeah.
So it was big. It was in big offices, but he was very connected. And what he had introduced at that time was a coaching department, a specific coaching and training department. Right. And I saw what these coaches were doing every month, and I was like, I want to do that. So I set my sights on that. I got the job, and I fell into learning and development. So I was coaching people within the call centre on their calls, increasing their customer service. And then I started to train people, new people that came in.
Yeah.
And what I realised was, hang on a minute, I've got this same level of confidence when I'm standing up in front of a room full of people, training them, that I do when I'm acting, and I don't feel self-conscious or nervous as much as I do in everyday life.
Right.
And so I set my sights on that, and I figured that this was a better way of standing up in front of a room full of people and entertaining them in some kind of way rather than acting. So that was the start of my career. and I moved to Brighton. September the 11th happened. I got the coaching department got dissipated.
Okay.
Obviously, it was hit very, very hard. I moved to Brighton and I got a job. It was quite a stretch for me as a coach in a call centre called Inkfish. And I was responsible for all of the training and all of the coaching for the people within like 300 people within the call centre. And I learned a lot in that role.
Yeah.
I learned, the nuts and bolts of training delivery, and I got my qualifications. I became an NLP practitioner.
Okay.
And in that time, I specialised in leadership development. I went into leadership development, psychometric testing and personality testing.
Okay.
And I climbed that ladder and I moved to a different company, and I was working with more and more senior leaders, coaching the executive teams on team dynamics, presentation. This is where I picked up the storytelling tool, because what I realised is a lot of introverted leaders didn't like presenting to people, and they had to do it.
Yeah.
So I picked up the fact that storytelling was a very good tool to help them, because it really enabled them to not even think about anything and just tell a story and engage their people.
Yeah.
So more and more people were coming to me asking me to help them with presentation and communication and influencing and assertiveness and all of that. Got pregnant, skipped off onto maternity leave. Bye everybody! Yeah. And then completely lost the plot. Kids had, obviously I had my kids 3 years apart, but in that time they both had health issues. They didn't sleep. It was very hard. It was a hard impact. I didn't know how. I didn't find it a natural process.
No.
Got diagnosed with an anxiety disorder.
Gosh.
Came back into the workplace and just felt like a fraud.
Did you not go back to work between the children then?
Yeah, I did.
You said had a period back in it.
So after my first child, my daughter, I took a year out, came back in, sat in the boardrooms with these very important people, thinking, what the hell? I'm just not meant to be here.
Did you have? I'll tell you, the question I'm going to ask is around guilt, because I've coached a couple of people, and one of my clients has terrible guilt about pursuing her career and going for her goals because of her children. Did you feel like that, or was it more a confidence thing?
I didn't actually feel like that, because I was part-time.
Right.
But I had no confidence. I thought my skills had gone.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to stand up or hold a room. I wasn't able to facilitate executive directors. I was a mum with just looking back, like I'd been dragged to a hedge backwards, like no sleep.
Was it like, I'm just a mum kind of feeling, or was it just a...
It's just like, I've lost it all. I cannot do this anymore. I'm no good. And it showed in my behaviour, it showed in my performance.
Right.
So the worst sort of moment was sitting in a canteen with my boss, and she did a performance review in the canteen, which wasn't the best place to do it.
No, probably not.
Like, literally, it was just really bad.
Yeah.
I had a massive panic attack, and I just ran out.
Wow.
And it was running out and crouching in a phone box and crying. I was like, what am I doing? I'm just not good at this anymore. I've got to go. So I left.
Okay.
And I ran away from it all. And I hid because I thought I wasn't good at it. I couldn't do it. That was my career down the pan.
Yeah.
Staying at home, not seeing anybody, not socialising, not doing anything, no hobbies, no interests, nothing. Just because I was so scared. I was so anxious that I needed to be safe. And what I did do is I did start a business that meant I didn't really have to speak to anybody, and I could stay at home, and it was a completely different business. And of course, it just didn't do well because it wasn't in an area that I had expertise in.
Right, okay.
So it wasn't until my second child was born, and things got much worse. It compounded. My marriage fell apart, and literally one day I was faced with, like, you've got to face this. It was a, I remember.
Do or die kind of situation.
It really was, like, I wasn't happy. Nobody was happy, and it just wasn't working. So I had made the decision. I either continue to push this all down and numb it out, or I let it all out and deal with it, and I did.
Yeah.
I went through marriage counselling. I went through my own counselling. I got massively into personal development. And on that journey, I realised it hadn't left me at all.
Right.
So the confidence I thought I'd lost was still in there. I just needed to unlock it again.
Okay.
So I started making big plans. I launched this business. It was a little bit of a different iteration at that time.
Yeah.
It was mainly sort of focusing around leadership and business.
Yeah.
But I launched this new business and put myself out there, started doing video, and then I thought I hadn't stood up in front of a room full of people in years.
Right.
I thought, well, I've got to do that.
It's facing it, isn't it?
What's the biggest way I can do that? I'm going to do a TED talk. So put that on
Start
my vision
small.
board.
Let's do one of the biggest TED Talks in the country.
Put that on my vision board. 8 months later, I'm standing at the
Brilliant.
Brighton Dome in front of 1,500 people, and that was the first time I'd stood up in front of a room full of people in like 4 years.
Wow.
And it was incredible, and it was a
Yeah.
life-changing moment. And I proved to myself that I could do anything that I put my mind to, and that it
Yeah.
never left me. So I really wanted to capitalise on that after that. Lots of people came to me and said, because I only had 24 hours to prepare that talk.
Right, wow.
And people,
I'm trying to prepare mine and I've like had a year.
people were coming up to me and saying, how did you manage to do that? And obviously I drawn on all of my skills of presentation and training and
Yeah.
delivery and speaking and like storytelling. And I pulled on all of that, just like that.
But
And
maybe that was a good thing, you know, that you had that short length of time to
Yes.
put it together. I mean, imagine if you had
Oh yeah,
like a
I would
year,
have
like,
got so
you know,
nervous, but
the
it was a
build
good
up.
thing.
Yeah,
It was. A good, I mean,
exactly.
obviously, it wasn't. It wasn't. You know, I look back at it now and I think, gosh, I've come so far since
Mm.
then. I was very, very nervous and I stumbled, but I did it, and I
But there's no perfect. There's no
No.
perfect talk.
and it was sharing my story. It was
Mm.
sharing my journey. So after that, I launched my first speaker program. That
Yeah.
went really well, and then I started to realise that actually this is what people needed, and this is what I was great at.
Yeah.
So because courage was my new driver, like if it scared me, I'm going to do it.
Right.
So I was like, right, what can I do next? I know, I'll put on an annual conference in Brighton.
You
So-
don't like to go small, do you? It's like,
So that's what I
my
did.
own conference and let's just go in and go at it. Go hard or go
Yeah,
home.
exactly, right? So I was put that together, and that went really, really well, and did another one. And really, I guess it was probably like maybe a year ago, I decided to really own the niche of storytelling and speaking. I hadn't really niched down fully by then, which I know is a difficult thing in business. It's difficult to pin your hat on something,
Yeah.
and a lot of people struggle with that. But doing that was the best thing that I did.
Yeah, because it takes time, doesn't it, for it to evolve and for you to, it's like with me, with my business, and you know what I'm trying to do, and it's sort of, it just evolves as you go through this process, and you know, you start off far and wide, and you eventually think, no, this feels good, this feels comfortable, this is my audience, this is my people,
Yeah,
and you kind of get to where you need to be. I think it's just that process of time and
exactly.
developing yourself.
So now I do corporate work, so I'm back standing up in a classroom, and I go in and I deliver things around verbal communication, so I'm doing influencing skills and assertiveness and
Yeah.
storytelling, and I'm really loving going back into organisations and coming back out again. I don't think I could ever be in there permanently again, but I really enjoy doing that work, speaking gigs, and my online courses and live events. And yeah, very grateful and feeling, you know, just absolutely love working with people, finding out their stories,
Yeah.
pulling out their stories.
Well, I mean, you've got a skill for it, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. Sorry, but I swear, and it comes out how it comes out. But I think, you know, because we've done a little bit of work together, which I would highly recommend to anybody. And again, I'm not just blowing smoke. I think it was such value for money, the course that I did with you, because it just pulled. Like, I know there's loads of stuff within me, but I feel like I don't have the ability to pull it out, and I'm sure lots of people feel like that.
Oh, they do.
But the way that you helped me and, you know, talked me through that process, it just benefited me so much. And I know there's much more to do, but I think that short space of time and that short course, your ability to do that was, you know, just amazing, and it really, you know, so you've really, really got a skill. So I think, you know, you're doing the right thing.
I think when people come to me and they say, I've got a story, I want to be a speaker, I want to share, I've got lots of stuff, I've got lots of ideas, I've got lots of things to share. It's a jumble in their head. And the thing that, you know, it's the story and the message, the core message, getting that core message really, really clear.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a core message, you know what your talk's going to be about, you know what your outcome's going to be, and you know how to pitch it to an organiser.
Yeah.
If you don't have that clarity, so that's what I love, like helping people to define. It's like a golden thread through the talk, and how is it going to go left? That's the other thing. So people come up with messages, and they can be quite generic because they don't know how to apply their own uniqueness to it. And I love discussing that with someone. So yours was amazing.
Yeah.
It particular, because you had it all there.
Yeah.
But we weren't sure how to make it go left, and I'll just explain if people don't know what that means.
Yeah, the go left thing,
Yeah.
for people that don't know. Yeah, do explain that, because that's really stuck with me, that
Mm.
has, when you keep saying that, go left, go left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched a film called Lucky Number 7 a few years ago, and in that film they talk about a term of misdirection. Bruce Willis talks about it. It's called the Kansas City Shuffle, and he says you go left where everybody else is going right.
Yeah.
So as a speaker in an industry, in your industry, what's everybody else saying that you aren't? What are you saying that's different? What are you courageous to say that other people aren't? What are you saying that's going against the grain, or it's a really relevant topic, or it's a new twist or an existing idea? That's the type of message, particularly for TED.
Absolutely.
It needs to be an idea worth spreading. And a lot of the time, people they don't know how to put their own unique stamp on that message.
Yeah.
It's generic when they come to me, but we really help sort of make it unique so it stands out to the curators and the organisers.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that out there that want to speak and feel like they've got something to say. Like me, I love the sound of my own voice. Hence our podcast. And I do want to speak, but I wasn't necessarily thinking. Though I'm a coach, and so when I coach clients, I have outcome thinking, and I try and get them to have what is the outcome, and that's where we work from. But when I'm thinking about it from a talking point of view, I wasn't thinking, what's the outcome of this? What do I want the audience to get from this? It was just like, well, this is what I've got to say. This is kind of like my message, but I wasn't thinking it through properly about the outcome to the audience. What do I want them to feel and think and take away? Yeah, I can do that in my coaching, but I couldn't do that when I was thinking about speaking. And you really kind of brought that to the fore with your trainings. And the go left thing, like I say, I think that can be applied to lots of things. Like even with my coaching, I've thought about that. It's like, because there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of everything, let's be honest, in this world. That there's no unique ideas really. The only thing unique is us as an individual. So you have to think from that point of view, what's left about me, what's different about me, what's disruptive about me, and kind of focus in on that. So that will always remind me of you. The go left.
Good.
So, excuse me with this horrible throat. So now, I think one of the things I was going to ask you is, obviously you're in this corporate world. Did you ever see yourself sort of going it alone? Was it a big shock? Did you feel like it was the only route you could take? Because there's a lot of people that, certainly some of the people I coach have got a job. They have an idea. They have a vision of having their own business, being entrepreneurial, but that leap is just too big and too scary. And maybe you were forced to do that.
I kind of gave myself no other option, because I just thought I am not good at it anymore, and I'm an embarrassment.
Wow, right.
And so I felt shame.
Yeah.
And so, I had a really good salary, I had a lovely BMW, had all of the perks. So when I actually told my husband that
not too impressed that
going, obviously he was concerned.
Yeah.
But I could not see any other option. And once I get an idea in my head, I'm like a dog with a bone.
Right, okay.
I think you're like that too.
You just got to go for it, haven't you? Just honestly,
I'm tenacious.
Yeah.
And I will not, I would just do it, and nobody can persuade me otherwise. Yeah. And so that was it. And I guess I was running away.
Right.
And when I think back to it now, it was the best thing I ever did. But it's a tricky thing, taking the leap.
Yeah.
There's a lot to keep you safe. There's a lot to keep you in it. But all I can say is I've never felt more fulfilled.
Wow.
I've never felt more, jumping out of bed in the morning because I love what I do.
Yeah.
Whereas, when somebody else was telling me what to do and I couldn't express my ideas or my creativity or or have autonomy or all of those things, then I did feel suppressed and I did feel unhappy and unfulfilled. So, I think it does take a certain mindset to do it. Yeah, sure. And you can develop that mindset.
Grow as you go, I say.
Grow as you go. I like that.
I always say that.
You've got to have, I think the thing that there was a study done around it, and it's the tenacity element to it is key. To have that as a trait. Yeah. To be tenacious and just go for it and not give up.
Yeah, I think we've had a conversation thinking about this now, haven't we? Talking about that and just keeping going, because obviously, like when I talk about myself, I left school with very little education, pretty much only just had maths, and I had lots of different jobs. I was good at sales because I like to talk, so that makes sense. But eventually, I wanted more. I wanted more freedom and the ability to earn what I wanted to earn. And I think the only thing, I've worked for myself now for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
So this is my 20th year, and I think it's just that you just have to have that. I'm not quitting, and just keeping going and pulling yourself up again and pulling yourself up again. The old, is it a Chinese proverb, or fall down 7, get up 8?
Winston Churchill quote.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that Winston
Well,
Churchill?
I think that's.
I always think of the dog quote when I think of Winston Churchill, like you don't have to stop and pat every barking dog or something. He says, or we won't talk about it.
But it's true, and actually it's really interesting. It's going to be a bit of a vulnerable share here. So
let's do it. Let's do it. It's what I want on the podcast.
So in business, I have always been like that. You know, even when it was the decision to go, I just went for it, and I didn't give up on going.
No.
And in the first business, I didn't give up until I realised it just wasn't aligned.
Yeah.
So then I course corrected. I'm single.
Yeah.
And I'm in the dating world, right? And it's tough out there, right? And the thing about online dating now and things like that is it's kind of a bit like business.
Right.
You get knockbacks.
Yeah.
Particularly now, people ghost, people stop talking to you.
What does ghost mean?
Oh, you not know?
No, I don't do online dating. My sister does, so she probably knows what it is.
It's basically where you might be having a conversation. You may even have an established relationship with someone, and they completely go cold on you.
Oh, okay, ghosting. That's ghosting.
Yeah,
okay.
and that happens a lot.
Does it?
Now I understand it more now.
Brutal.
It is, but it's just the way it is, right? So if you are really emotionally invested in it all, it can feel like rejection.
You sure?
And when you get that a lot, you feel like there's something wrong with you, and so you might be like, I'll give up. Yeah. But actually, you can't, because it's just the same as business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I was thinking about there, because I think a lot of people do give up.
Yeah.
With business, they do give up with things like online dating.
It's too hard. It's too hurtful.
And it could have been that next date. Could have been someone that was really special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got to give shout out to Benjamin Daly. I know that you might know him.
I know that name.
He's a dating coach. I've read his book recently, Happily Ever After. So he's given me a completely new perspective.
So has that made you more determined to keep going with it?
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, cool.
It's not like I'm not going to give up. It's like, it's just a process.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. Like business, don't take it personally.
But knockbacks and setbacks are really hard, and in business and in life, we're all going to experience them. Talking about being, your own boss or entrepreneurial, that's what you've got to have, that ability to bounce back.
Totally.
Your bounce back ability is so crucial when going it alone, and obviously using the dating analogy as well, that is really, really good. And I think when I first was in business, my first ever business was a network marketing business, and I was really good at it. That was my first experience of training people, managing people, motivating people, and that's when I really first got into personal development. And I started listening to Jim Rohn, all of his material and things like that, and I always remember him saying, listening to his tape recordings, I think they were back then, not even CDs, I don't think. No, I think there were CDs. Anyway, and talking about, there's a drawing now, isn't it, where there's two people drilling down, and obviously the pot of gold is at the end of the hole, and you can see it on the picture. They can't see it, and one gets to here, and he's literally that far away and gives up and goes back up and starts drilling down another hole, whereas the guy over here just keeps drilling down to this hole and eventually gets to the pot of gold. And that's the kind of message that Jim Rohn, I first remember hearing from Jim Rohn. And that's always stuck with me about keeping going, because you are literally at the brow of the hill, and you just don't know how many more little steps you've got to take, and then you're just going to be around that corner and you're going to fly down that hill.
It's so true. And also opportunities. If you seek opportunities, if you are tuned into positive outcomes, you're scientifically wired to seek those opportunities out.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have put TED on my vision board, I wouldn't be seeking out. It's the reticular activating system. We're scientifically hardwired to do that. When you buy a new car, you see that new car on the road everywhere.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't see it before. So if you're tuning into positive goals and outcomes, they will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I never really kind of understood it. A lot of people talk about law of attraction and it being that.
It's
a similar thing. And I never really labelled it like that, but certainly since my very early days in business, I've used all of that vision stuff, and I've stuck things on the fridge. I didn't have obviously a phone back then, but like now, I'll show you when we finish. My screensaver is me at TEDx in Brighton, because I want to do TEDx Brighton.
Really love that.
And that's been on there since we did the course actually. Bringing those things to you. Like I want a house by the sea. There's a picture of a house by the sea next to my bed. And I've done some work around trying to bring that to the fore. Of course, you can't just. I don't believe you can't. Yeah, you can't just go. Oh, I want a house by the sea and put a picture on my fridge. It's going to happen. No, I don't believe in that. But I do believe there is something in what you're saying and about having these. I don't know what you call them, because obviously some of it is about vision boarding and having those things around you and keeping it at the forefront of your mind. Like my goals and my objectives, I write in my diary every night, and I write them in my journal every morning. Brilliant. And I have images on my phone. My passcodes are all the names of things that I want, all the numbers, the income I want, all of that. Because I think you're right. It just brings it to the fore, and you're reminding yourself constantly, day in, day out. This is what I want. This is what I want. Bring it to me. Bring it to you, and you're more inclined to go and do the correct actions to make it happen.
Yeah, it's the same thing with my radio show. You know, I set the intention. So I was doing guesting at BBC Sussex.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Every month I'd go in and I'd be a guest on the lunchtime show, and my dad was, you know, not many people listened, but my dad listened and my stepmom listened, and he said, "You've got something there, Helen. You should pursue it."
Great.
And I never really thought about it until he died, and then I was like, right, I'm going to do something about that. So I set a conscious decision to do something.
Yeah.
Sort out, how am I going to do this? It's not just going to fall in my lap. I did loads of research. I spoke to people. I went on a training course, and then because of that, and because I put myself in front of loads of people, the opportunity presented itself.
So we need to touch on the radio, because that was one of my questions. But you've brought it up nicely. So because you now have a radio show.
Yay!
So skipping all through all the corporate and setting up your business, your company, you've now got a radio show, which is on the local Brighton radio station, which is Radio Reverb.
That's right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we now know how it came about.
Yeah. So one of my she's a previous client. She's a friend, Lisa Moore, is hooked up with the Athena Network. She runs the Athena Network. And the lady that was previously hosting the business show, she took over from her. So kind of the opportunity came in from sort of two angles. I was already connected with Radio Reverb because of the training and stuff like that.
Oh, you did your training with them?
I did my training.
Okay, right, yeah.
And the opportunity presented itself. I said yes without thinking about it at all. No idea how to. I mean, I went on the training, but literally it was a group training. It was like a 6-hour workshop, and I mean that was it. That was my training.
That was your training.
Yeah.
So was the concept? Did they say, well, this is the concept of the show, and you kind of got to stick to it, or was there any?
There's flexibility with it.
Oh, okay.
We can make it what we want to make it, and we've got big plans for it.
So what is it now? What do you hope it to become?
So we really want it to put, you know, businesses on the map, but we want people to really find it useful in terms of the topics that aren't necessarily normally discussed on business shows.
Right. Yeah.
So the sorts of things that really, you know, affect business leaders, entrepreneurs, anybody that runs a business or leads a business. But we also want to put Brighton businesses on the map as well.
Some great Brighton businesses.
Fantastic.
We're very lucky in this area, I think.
As well as talking with Lisa, so every month now, rather than just interviewing people, we are having a discussion around a hot topic that we're talking about. That it was visibility this month, and if you run an online business, how important that is. So we're talking about current things. We want to get sponsorship for the show, and we want to massively increase the listenership and reach and all of that sort of stuff. But essentially, it is a show about business. Yeah. All the nuances that come with that, all the challenges. Showcasing businesses, how their stories, how they've got to where they've got to, I absolutely love it. I'm still learning, you know, how to actually do it, you know. But
you did well when I was in there the other day. You look like a professional.
It's getting better every time, and editing it and all of that sort of stuff is getting easier, and I just love it. It's like one of my favourite things to do.
Yeah.
And I just really, really, really love it. So
That's amazing. No, I enjoyed it when I came on. I thought it was great. I thought you handled it all very well.
oh, thanks.
What? So obviously, excuse me. You've had some challenges over the years. What would you say your biggest challenges have been, and your biggest learnings? I guess your lessons from those.
So going back to the name of this podcast, I think the breakdown of my marriage was probably the hardest thing, because I had just no blame on my ex-husband. We've got a very good relationship, and we raise our children, and it's all great. But I lost myself. Yeah. And that happens to a lot of people. I lost myself because I had kids, and then my identity completely shifted. I also lost any sense of who I was, what my hobbies were, what my likes and interests were. So going on that journey to discover that, and then when the marriage finally broke down, I kind of set it as a mission to honour that, to find out really who I was. Okay. And this is like a year and a half ago now. And yeah, as a person. And I've done that, and I'd say that it was very hard, because you've really got to kind of face what person you were, and what you were denying, and what you were shutting out, or
do you think I hate to cut in, sorry, do you think, was there any kind of like, you were pretending to be somebody you were before to who you are now? Because I know you said you talked about loss, but you had to find yourself. Was that find yourself again, do you think?
No. It was really find out who I am. Right. Because I think from a child, I put on this armour. Yeah. Because I was so shy and went red really easily. So I performed as someone else. Yeah. When I stood up in front of a room full of people, I performed. When I trained them, I was someone else. I wasn't me. Yeah. And I needed to find out who I was. So I always thought I was reconnecting with who I was, but I've discovered so much about myself in the last year and a half. Right. And it's been incredible. Yeah. Losing my dad last year was incredibly hard. I hadn't experienced grief like that before. Yeah. And learning to move through that and how to deal with that has been a huge lesson for me. Yeah. As well as I've had my own health scares and things like that in the last year too. And my mum has cancer, and going through all those things at the same time, I did suffer from depression after I lost my dad. I didn't realise that's what it was, because I hadn't actually suffered from depression before. Right. I'd had anxiety. Understanding what that was, just listening, tuning in, accepting it, letting it out, like being kind, really developing a kind relationship with myself. And I have to thank Katie Phillips. I worked with Katie Phillips. She's a self-love coach, and she really
is she local to Brighton?
Yeah, she's okay. Yeah, she really helped me to. I never had a relationship with myself. I never was very kind, or was like give myself what I need. Yeah. And now I do. Like booking that trip to Morocco that we were talking about. That was like that's what I need. Yeah. And I honoured that.
That's for another podcast. But that just on that trip to Morocco, it's not relevant to my podcast, but I have a friend who's got a soulful travel show. Karen Mikas, I don't know if you know her, but it's all about travel for women, solo travel for women.
Oh, great.
But it's called Soulful, as in S-O-U-L, soul, for the soul. And I did say to her, she should connect with you, because you'd obviously gone off and done this trip literally with like 13 strangers, I think it was, wasn't it? And I've certainly, I don't know you terribly well, but certainly I've followed you for quite a long time and seen you on social media, and I've noticed your character grow and change, and certainly and I guess that's maybe why I was more drawn to you and came to you about the speaker coaching, because your character, you sort of like, it's like you blossomed, and I'm like, oh, that's not the Helen. And seeing some of your photos on Instagram and things like that, I'm just thinking, wow, Helen's really changed, and so it's like I don't know if blossom's the right word, because
no, I understand what you're saying there, and actually it does feel like that, because I'm just me now. Yeah. And as I said, it's not blame on anybody else. No, that's something that I had to own, and I had to fully understand who I was, because I didn't, and now I do. And I think being single and being a single parent, and it's just necessitated me having to do that.
Sure, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of talk these days, isn't there, about us being ourselves, showing up as who we really are. But obviously because of social media and fake book, as I call it, you know, it's that, you know, even for me, doing Onion, I'm a little bit going through that journey myself, and I can definitely resonate with so much that you're talking about. My father's very unwell, he's coming to the end of his life, he's got cancer, and that's having a massive impact on us as a family. I'm going through a divorce, I have challenges with my children, and sadly my dog had to be put down on Saturday, so that's really, but I'm saying that because I kind of understand the compound effect of all of these things, and how you have to be very careful to take care of yourself when all of those things are going on. Like for me, I've had this terrible cold and it won't go away, and I'm realising that actually I need to take better care of myself, because I do have a lot going on, and I'm good. Don't get me wrong. I'm terribly sad about my dog and my dad, but if I want to manage it and cope and help other people, continue to help other people, then I need to take care of myself. And it's us becoming self-aware, isn't it? And I think as business owners, there's a lot of business owners I talk to that struggle alone for a long time, and either get depression or get anxiety. They become fearful, and a lot of people are fearful of reaching out and asking for help.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Which is one of my messages, you know, when I do a talk, is about, you know, trying to empower people to ask for help, because it's actually a sign of strength rather than weakness.
Do you know what? I have something to say about that, because I am someone, I'm quite proud, and so if I'm going through a hard time, I isolate, because I don't want to bother people, and I don't even want to talk to people about it, to be honest, even though I know it will help me. But when my dad died, I absolutely did that. I completely went into like isolation mode, didn't speak to anybody, didn't connect with them. And when I realised that so connection is the antidote to, you know, isolation, depression, things like that. I set these little mini goals to connect with someone, like a friend or family member, every day. Not to say I'm having a hard time, but just to connect with them. How are you doing today? Just to send them a message. Yeah. That really, really helped me. And from there, I was able to open up a bit. Yeah. Because they were saying, well, how are you? Yeah. And I'm okay, you know, and then they want to help. Yeah, absolutely, they want to help. They'd hate it if they knew you were struggling so much. Friends want to help, family, they do want to help. Even like people online, you know, when I've shared stuff after the things have happened, people want to help. They're so lovely. People are good. I think on the whole, and Jim Rohn says this, there's only 9 bad people in the world. Everybody else is really nice. Yeah, people are good. I think generally people are good, and I think. Apart from the ghosters. There's hundreds of those in the world as well, apparently. No, so, they're okay. They're just like, you know, it's just a different way of communicating. But, you know, what I'm saying there is, if you find it difficult to reach out for support, just connect. Yeah. That's only connect, and it really helps. Because it's human nature to crave connection, isn't it? We want connection, we want to be loved, we want to be liked. It's human nature. And we do want that connection, but when you're struggling, like I've struggled last year, I had some really dark times and I didn't want to talk to anyone. It was even like my best friend, who is the most amazing human being, Linny. She's not on social media or anything like that, but if she ever hears this, you know, she's been my best friend for 27 years, maybe longer. There was times when I just couldn't reply to her, but she knows me so well that she'd be like, I know what you're doing, and you know, and she would call me, but she just knew that I just couldn't face talking to her, because I would just break down. It was just too much. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, and so it's very, very interesting that you say that about connection. One of the things that I found being a coach, and obviously, you know, life throws shit at everybody. We all have challenges. We've all got a story, and in some of my hardest times, I think that's probably when I want to be more giving to others, and I could do some of my best work. Yeah. Oh, honestly, it's so true. Yeah. I think, so the other thing I was going to say, the lessons out of the difficult times have been turning it into something positive. So when I lost my dad, I went through the dark period, but then I wanted to do something. So I booked a wing walk, and because he was a pilot. See him up there on the picture there. Oh, he was a bird pilot, so he was always in the skies, and so my friend said, why don't you do a wing walk? So I booked that. I raised £1,400 for pancreatic cancer. Amazing. And it was a really, really positive thing to focus on, to help other people. Yeah. And yes, it was an amazing experience as well, but he was with me the whole time. I felt really connected to him, and I think out of any adversity, you can create good, you can create something really positive, you can help other people with what you've learned, and doing that helps you get through the grieving process. It helps you to, really build and learn and evolve and grow.
Absolutely.
And so therefore these things can be very, very positive things, even though they don't feel like it at the
No,
time.
at the time they don't. And even with me, with all, some people sometimes say I'm too positive and too optimistic. And,
I get that too.
But if you've seen me last year, you probably would have said that. And there's days when you just think, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. But there is, I think, I don't like the saying everything happens for a reason, but I do think there's better things to come, and this is happening for a reason. And a good friend of mine says everything that's happening to me at the moment is freeing me up to fly, to go off and do all of the things that I want to do, which there are many, speaking and coaching around the world and more travel. And this is just getting rid of all the things that need to go and get left behind, and freeing me up to be able to go and do what it is and to fly.
Taking you to your next level.
Exactly. So, right, what I want to do is just move on. How much time have we? We've been on 40 minutes. Boy, we can talk. I wanted to ask you about who's inspired you throughout your, I guess, I think you might know what you're going to say to this, but anyway, throughout your life in terms of business, but also personally, have there been any particular people, maybe like from not necessarily a paid mentor, but somebody that's mentored you and helped you and inspired you to do some of the things you've done and in business and personally?
I'd say that the situations that I faced did inspire me. So one person that always kind of sticks out was my first proper boss. It was after leaving Virgin and coming to Brighton.
Right.
And I still know him, and we've worked together since. His name's Ollie Thompson.
Okay.
And he's great. He's fantastic. But at the time, I was 21, and he enabled me. He pushed me. He expected.
Right.
A different level from me.
Okay.
And at the time I found it quite, terrifying. But I did it. I delivered it. And that's always stuck with me, because he always kind of just believed that I could do it.
You could do it,
I could do it. Richard Branson definitely was very inspiring, because that first job I got, I actually saw what true leadership is.
Right.
And what a great leader is all about.
Right.
I remember, he invited us all to his house. He stood up on a stage and gave this incredible speech, and I'll always remember it. And he said at the end, if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough.
Wow. He says that in his book, doesn't he? I think it's in one of his books. I've read one of his books. So yeah.
Brené Brown, when I was going through my transformative journey, and I saw her TED talk on vulnerability, and I completely got absorbed in her and what she was doing, and the people in her world, like Glennon Doyle Melton. If people don't know who she is, she runs a fantastic organisation that raises money for effort and aid that things that are happening in the world.
Okay.
And she's an author as well. And Elizabeth Gilbert is a huge inspiration to me, not just for the books that she's written, but for the type of person she is online.
Okay.
And I find her, she's open, honest, vulnerable. She just says it
I don't
how
know
it
her.
is. So she wrote Eat,
I know
Pray,
Brené
Love.
Brown and
Eat, Pray, Love is her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You should follow her. She's
she's
amazing. Who else has been inspiring to me? Because along the way, people like Pete Cohen. So he was my speaker coach for my first conference. He's very inspiring in terms of what he's achieved and the story. His wife didn't have long to live, and they managed to turn it all around. And, so he's incredible. And I guess I've read loads of books of people like Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap, and then The Joy of Genius. I've read The Big Leap like 20 times.
Really? I've never read any book 20 times.
It's just something that it was the pinnacle book that enabled me to really move forward and understand what I was capable of.
Yeah.
And obviously things like Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Those sorts of books.
Read all of those. Yeah.
But apart from the paid mentors as well, as I mentioned, Katie Phillips has been very significant. Jessica Lorimer is my sales coach.
Okay.
And she's really, really helped
Is she
me.
local? Or?
No, she's Southampton.
Okay.
But she's really helped me to understand
Yeah.
business online, and I wouldn't have been able to have done some of the things I've done without her support and help. So those are the main ones I'd say. My mum inspires me every day with her warrior-like resilience. In just cracking the F on, getting on with it despite everything that she has to go through with the disease that she's got, and that she's overcome it. She just plows on, and she's got the most positive attitude. And I'm very inspired by that. And I'm inspired by my dad as well, who was incredibly creative. He was an inventor, and I dedicated my second conference to him because it was all about ideas. Loads of people.
Well, I think it's important, and I like to ask people that question because I think it's like, while the podcast is called It Starts With You, it doesn't mean you do it alone.
No, definitely not. And
I don't want that to get misconstrued with people. Yeah, we're the ones that have to make the decision. We always have a choice, and we get to pull the trigger. And you've got to be that starting point, but we don't do it alone. There are always mentors around us, whether they're paid or not. No, I don't believe any successful person has ever made it alone. They'll either have paid, I don't know who Richard Branson's coach or mentor is, but I'm pretty sure he's had some paid coaches and mentors. Oprah Winfrey has, I know. Gary Vaynerchuk does it. All the greats do and have. Warren Buffett, So I kind of like to ask that just to kind of bring that across, that we all need other people for different things. Like, you've got a sales coach, you've had some therapy, like for me, I've had a speaking coach, I have a mentor, I've had therapy many times, and it's about getting that help. But yes, we can still take that responsibility.
Yeah, totally agree. One of the things I help people with is obviously storytelling and putting talks together. And one of the most famous talk structures is the hero's journey, which is the journey that you've been on to get you here. And in folklore it's called the hero's journey, but I call it the journey of heroes, because it's the people that you've met on the way, it's the mentors, it's the allies, it's your nemesis, it's all of those external influences that have shaped you, and external situations and things that have happened to you that have enabled you to become the hero of your journey. Yeah,
absolutely. That's really good. One thing before I kind of wrap up, because obviously your talk was around confidence and not necessarily losing it, it was always there. But confidence is something that comes up a lot for me, with clients as well. And I feel like it's an area of expertise for you. So, what could you share with perhaps the listeners, maybe if they're suffering with low confidence or lack of confidence? What are some things that they maybe share, sort of 2 or 3 things that tips that you could sort of give somebody to kind of try and recultivate their confidence?
Sure. So first of all, I'd highly recommend watching my TED Talk, because that goes through the stages I went to realise that it was always inside me.
Okay.
But a few things, I think the most important thing is to turn your gaze inwards, and to really get a handle on who you are and what your preferences are, what your likes are, what your values are. When I reconnected with myself, and the first thing I did was find out what my values were, then all of a sudden I had this internal decision-making system. So I knew what was right, what was wrong, what felt good, what didn't, what was I available for, what I wasn't. And I think that automatically gives you confidence, because you
start to know who you are, really.
You're not anchoring yourself outside, because you don't have a sort of sense of who you are. So that's the first thing. Getting really clear on your value, on what value you bring to the world. A lot of people find that difficult, but some of the exercises I've done with people is writing out your life and work CV, like in a pictorial line.
Okay.
So like the timeline of things that happened in life, and draw pictures around them.
Okay.
So you can actually put this sort of life CV together and see that, oh my God, I've experienced a lot. Not just in things that have happened to me and what I've learnt from that and how I can help people, but also my work experience, because there will be a shed load of stuff that you've forgotten about, that other people need this stuff. They do. Not everybody knows what you know.
Exactly.
And that was a really good exercise for me, for kind of just getting really clear and owning my value. And then the third thing is the whole rewiring of the beliefs. So get really honest with yourself about the beliefs that you have, You know, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, one of mine was, you know, I don't have any skills or expertise anymore. I've lost it. And then challenge them. You know, shine a light on them. What's holding them up? What evidence do you have that those are actually true?
Okay.
And then you can rewire them by creating a new belief around them. So mine was, I have everything inside me to be mighty and successful.
I knew I got that from somewhere. I've got that on my phone. It was you that said it.
Yeah. So I think I don't know where I got that from. I must have got it from somewhere.
Yeah, no, that's great though.
I have
it's a great
everything
mantra.
within me to be mighty and successful. And it is like treading new paths in a meadow.
Yeah.
You've got to rewire those beliefs. Also, doing things that scare you, pushing your comfort zones. Staying safe actually exacerbates the problem, exacerbates your low confidence. Doing something and seeing a win from it is a huge confidence boost. It can be the smallest thing. It can be the tiniest step. But you imagine your comfort zone like like a rubber band around you. You just want to be increasing it.
Yeah, absolutely, stretching it. Yeah, I mean, I've been stepped away and not done things because I got asked to speak at a conference and I said yes, but then I backed out and literally couldn't do it.
I've done
couldn't
that too.
do it. Oh, that's good. Reassured.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
I thought I can't.
I wouldn't now. Now I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to take it on. But you know.
But the more wins you get, the more you
stretch.
you've got the evidence and the belief.
Yeah.
And, you know, I never even dreamed, like 3 years ago, that I'd be putting on a conference, that I'd be doing the other things. That no way in a million years. But yet,
here you are, almost like a different person.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what's next for Helen Packham then? What's happening in the near future, and is there a bigger vision, a bigger plan?
Yeah.
I know there are. Maybe you can't talk about some of it. But
Yeah, I can't. There are some exciting
I
things.
know, but
In the
what can you
pipeline,
share?
what I can share is that I'm changing my annual conference to an event in October that's going to be much more focused around people becoming sought after speakers and like real practical skills, like a 2-day workshop.
Great.
So that's coming up.
And that will be in Brighton?
Yes.
Yeah,
At
brilliant.
the Harbour Hotel, fingers crossed, hopefully.
Okay.
And I'm running these speaker boot camps. The first one I've started on Monday is going really well. Online and face-to-face. I'm going to be collaborating with Lisa Moore to do a face-to-face speaker boot camp in Brighton.
Brilliant. When will that be happening?
We're just getting the date for that, probably April time.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just really giving you practical skills to put a talk together, to deliver it with impact, get our feedback, that type of thing. And I'm continuing to do my Land and Deliver course. So that's how to actually land a TEDx.
Yeah.
And that will be running a live version in June. And then just, you know, generally speaking, I'm continuing to kind of build on things I'm already doing. I'm writing a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that needs to just get done.
Are you one of these people? Because I want to write a book, and they say that everyone's got a book inside them, don't they? And I think my book would be alright to read. I think, but you know a bit of my story. So I think, but I'm not one of those people. Somebody says, right, you've got to just write for half an hour. I've got a friend who's a writer. Write for half an hour a day. And I said, I don't know what to write. She said, write what's in your head. And I'm like, I can't do that. I'm one of these people that has to do it intensively. So I'm like, put me in the south of France, Santorini or somewhere for 2 weeks, and then I'll be able to do it.
Sounds good to me.
But not post-it notes on the wall and come back to it every
That's
day for
why I
half an hour.
haven't been able to complete it, because of the way my life is and the fact that, you know, I have a child that doesn't sleep and I do all the pickups and drop-offs and all of that sort of thing. I do get very limited time to work. And so it has gone to the bottom of the pile, but I really want to get that. I really want to get it out.
Is that going to be a business book?
Yeah, it's going to be focused around storytelling.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully, when's the deadline?
I don't know.
What? When? How?
I need to do that.
Right. There's no
It's
date
by the
on
end
it.
of the year.
It's not happening. She's got no date on it.
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year. 31st of the 12th, 2020. Put a date on it. That's brilliant. Okay, one last thing. I like to do a little cheeky round, and I've come up with a little cheeky fours round. It's called for you, the number 4. So it's a little bit of fun if you're cool with that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so what 4 things can't you live without?
Oh,
I got to be brutally honest as well. You can't.
Mascara.
Right. Okay. It's a good one.
Concealer.
Concealer. Okay.
Sourdough toast and peanut butter.
Yes, I can vouch for that.
And music.
Yeah, you have got good taste in music, by the way.
I love
What's
my
that song?
music.
Caribou.
Love Caribou.
Love it. And I played it to my 14-year-old niece, and she was a bit like, and she's a bit Stormzy
Oh,
in
yeah,
her
yeah.
kind of music taste, but she was like,
Yeah.
no, that's actually
I used to be
all
a
right.
DJ, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yes, we didn't even
House
get into
DJ.
that. We didn't even get into that. What 4 goals do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Write a book.
Write a book.
Yeah.
Deliver my new event.
Yeah. You've got to talk about.
Take my kids on an amazing holiday.
Brilliant.
And continue to ensure that I'm as healthy as I can be and my family too.
Okay. Next 4 is, if you could only watch 4 movies for the rest of your life, which ones would you pick?
Oh my god. Movies to watch. The Holiday.
Okay, classic.
It's just a really, really good one.
Yeah.
Oh god, this is tricky.
I love this question.
Oh my
That's all right. I
goodness.
thought that's a great
I
question.
might have to edit out some silence for the podcast.
No, it's I'll just keep talking and
Oh,
encouraging
gosh.
you. Are you a big movie fan?
I was. I guess I'm
Yeah.
not so much anymore.
This is supposed to be like a quick fire round, Helen. Excuse me. Okay, we'll move on then.
I'll have a think.
You have a think about that one. Who are your 4 Instagram accounts you enjoy following the most?
The Wicked Jade.
Wicked Jade.
She is a badass lady who loves wearing really cool BDSM underwear under normal clothes.
Right, okay.
She's a 45-year-old lawyer.
Brilliant, I'm going to have to look that up.
Elizabeth Gilbert, hands down.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking up Elizabeth Gilbert.
Who else do I really like?
Sarah Adams' coach, she's pretty good on it.
She's cool.
And her podcast.
Lucy Sheridan is really good at
Okay.
confidence and comparison.
Yeah.
Fern Cotton, I really like.
Oh, do you like that
Reading
stuff?
as well.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I've listened to a few of her podcasts, so I quite enjoy those. Okay, 4 things. What 4 things have you never experienced? I don't know, that's a bit of a random one, that, isn't it? Keep it clean. Keep it clean. I was going to say it's a family show. It's not.